Hello students, this video is in continuation with my previous video on general account of order Polytricales, and in this video I am going to share with you detailed account of genus Polytrichum. So let's start the topic. First is habit and habitat of Polytrichum. Students, Polytrichum have worldwide distribution and they are very common in cool temperature and tropical regions, especially in the shady places, as is the characteristic feature of bryophytes. You all know that bryophytes are recognized by their habitat, that is shady moist areas. Like other bryophytes in Polytrichum, the main plant body is gametophyte and it consists of two parts, that is rhizome and upright leafy shoot. Rhizome is the underground portion, further bearing rhizoids, while the leafy axis that bear leaves and at reproductive stage bear sporophyte. Let's understand rhizome in detail. It is horizontal portion and grows underground. So it is non-green in color. It bears 3 rows of small brown or colorless leaves and also bear rhizoids. The cells are rich in protoplasm and oil globules. As the leaves are non-green or colorless, so their function is protection. You can see in this image, rhizome is there and it further bear rhizoidal strands and sometimes bear gamma or tube-like structure which help in the vegetative reproduction. In this image, you can see internal structure of the rhizome, and you can see that central portion is represented by the hydroid, which resemble with the xylem of the highly evolved plants. Then the hydroid is surrounded by the small cells which are known as leptoid. You know that in bryophytes, proper xylem and phloem tissues are absent and they are represented by primitive hydroid and leptoid type, which help in the conduction of mineral and nutrients as well as water. You can also find other structures which are present in the highly evolved plants like pericycle, endodermis, cortex, root like rhizoids, or hypodermis. These all show that Polytrichum is the highly advanced bryophyte and it shows resemblance with the next category of the plant, that is pteridophyte. Then is upright leafy shoot. The leafy shoot are much longer and most conspicuous part of the plant. It arises from rhizome and these branches consist of central axis and further bear large leaves arranged spirally, as you can see in these images. Basal rhizoidal portion is there, then the central stem is there and stem is surrounded by the spirally arranged leaves, and at reproductive structure they bear capsule or sporophyte. You can also see the leaf of Polytrichum juniperium and leaf of Polytrichum communi. This one is leaf of Polytrichum juniperium and the second one is leaf of Polytrichum communi. So let's understand the structure of leaves in detail. Leaves are recognized by their broad base. Each leaf has a broad colorless sheathing leaf base and narrow distal limb, as you can see in this image. Upper portion are green but the lower one are brown. The midrib form the major part of the leaf, as you can see in this image, that is represented by the dark line, and possesses extra photosynthetic tissue in the form of closely set vertical plates of the green cell. These plates are known as lamellae, as you can see in this image. These green lamellae act as an additional photosynthetic tissue. Let's understand the internal structure of the leaf. As you know that unlike the other bryophytes, Polytrichum have complex internal structure. The midrib region is thick but the margins are only one cell thick. The lower surface is bounded by epidermis. One or two layers of sclerenchymatous tissues are present above the epidermis, as you can see in these images. Here is lower epidermis, above that is the sclerenchymatous zone and it is represented by the two layers. The central tissue of the leaf is composed of thin-walled parenchymatous cells and this is just above the sclerenchyma cells, as you can see in this image. Dark colored cells are represented by the sclerenchyma and the light shaded are represented by the parenchyma. The upper surface is formed of a layer of larger cells from which arise numerous lamellae. This upper portion is the main photosynthetic region. Next is stem. The TS of stem shows three regions. Epidermis, that is present above the cortex, or it is the outermost layer, epidermis. Then is the cortex. Cortex consists of thick walled cells. The innermost layer of cortex around the conducting strand is known as mantle. Its cell contains starch grain. Then the third region is medulla, that is the center portion. Medulla is again differentiated into two zones, central zone and peripheral zone. So students, you can see here that stem is differentiated and resemble with the highly evolved plant, and it is bounded by the epidermis. Then there is cortex, which has different zones, outer and inner cortex. Then the medulla is again differentiated into two zones, central zone and the peripheral zone. Central zone is mainly occupied by the leptoid and hydroid. Next is reproduction. Students, you know very well that bryophytes, two type of reproduction are mainly prominent, that is vegetative and sexual. And vegetative reproduction in case of Polytrichum takes place by following three methods, that is protonema. You know very well spores germinate to form protonema, and several buds grow on the protonema, as you can see in this image. These buds then detach and develop into new gametophyte. So it is the one way of vegetative reproduction. Then is vegetative bud. Some vegetative bud develop on the parental rhizoidal region. These buds then detach and leads to formation of new gametophore. Third method is fragmentation. The rhizome give rise to erect leafy shoot at intervals. Sometimes there is death or breaking of shoots that separate the erect branches. These branches behave then as an independent plant. So these are the three methods of vegetative reproduction, and these are by protonema, vegetative bud and fragmentation. Next is sexual reproduction. Students, Polytrichum is dioecious, means male sex organs antheria and female sex organ archegonia develop on the different plants, as you can see in this image. First one is male plant while second one is female plant. So let's know in detail about the male reproductive part, that is antherial head. Antherial head consists of antheria and perigonial leaves. The antheria are borne in axillary cluster at the tip of the leafy stem, as you can see in this image. They are surrounded by a rostry of leaves called perigonial leaves. The leaves are different from the ordinary vegetative leaves. Perigonial leaves are spirally arranged, and the antheria are produced in group in the axil of these leaves. Thus, the antherial head have different antherial group. Paraphysis also among the antheria, as you can see in this image. And the function of paraphysis is protection as well as dispersal of the sperms. In this image, you can see that antheria are there which arises at the axil of the perigonial leaves, and in between you will find paraphysis. Next is antherium. The mature antherium is club shaped. It is composed of short stalk and a club shaped body, as you can see in this image. Jacket is present, and its main function is protection of androcyte mother cell or sperms. Androcyte mother cell give rise to biflagellate sperms, as you can see in this image. Each androcyte mother cell gives rise to two coiled biflagellate sperms. Antheria always dehisces in the presence of rain, that is a small word which help in the dehiscence of the antheria. The operculum cell is thrown out and the pore is formed at the apex. Sperm mass contained in the mucilage comes out. The operculum cells, which are the apical portion of the antheridium thrown out and pore is formed at the apex. Sperm mass contained in the mucilage comes out and ready for fertilization. So here you can see biflagellated sperm or motile sperm. Next is archegonial head. Archegonial head is formed by pericycle leaves as well as archegonia. The flask-shaped archegonia are worn at the apex of the leaf stem, as you can see in this image. Archegonium is surrounded by pericycle leaves. These leaves overlap to form a closed bud-like structure, and archegonia occur in cluster of 3 to 6. Mature archegonium is a flask-shaped structure. Like other bryophytes, it has a thick multicellular stalk. The neck is long and twisted. It contains neck canal cell and consists of 6 vertical rows of cell. Neck gradually merges into venter, and venter contains small upper venter canal cell and lower egg cell. Paraphyses are absent here. So you can see here archegonial head. Pericycle leaves surround the cluster of the archegonia, and their main function is protection. And each archegonium is flask-like structure having neck, neck canal cell, venter, venter canal cell, egg and cover cells. Next is fertilization. The sex organs dices in the presence of water. Venter canal cell and the neck canal cell dissolve to form mucilage and pathway for the entry of motile sperm. This mucilage exert pressure and the neck open out. The mucilage comes out of the neck. Sperm reaches the archegonial head by rainwater and stick to the mucilage. They are attracted toward the archegonia, and one of the sperm swims down the open neck and reaches the base. It fuses with the egg to form oospore. So in this way fertilization takes place, and oospore is the first stage of sporophytic generation. Next is sporophyte. The mature sporogonium is differentiated into foot, setae and capsule as other bryophytes, and the role of foot is absorption, and it is buried deep in the tissue of gametophore. It consists of thin-walled narrow cells containing dense cytoplasm. You can see here embedded foot, and it is deeply embedded in the gametophore. Then is setae. Setae is several inches long and it carries the capsule into the air. So its main function is conduction of the food as well as help in the dispersal by placing capsule in the dry air. It consists of epidermis, cortex and central conducting strand. Then is capsule. The upper part is capsule and it is further differentiated into 3 regions. First is apophysis. It is the lower part of the capsule and continues with the setae. As you can see here, this is apophysis region and it is the basal portion of the capsule. It is in the form of swollen ring-like protuberance. Its cells are thin-walled, green and loosely arranged. Means they perform photosynthesis, and apophysis is the main photosynthetic region of the capsule. Then is theca. It is the middle portion of the capsule and is much differentiated. It is four-lobed. Its wall is several layered. Outermost layer is epidermis, then trabecular air spaces which are present both inside and outside the spore sac. So in this way the theca region is differentiated from other mosses like Funaria, because in Funaria you will find only outer air space, while here double air spaces are present and which further consist of trabeculae. Center is occupied by solid columella. All the sporogenous cells are fertile and form spore after meiosis. So here you can see all the structure in detail. Central region is columella that is surrounded by inner air space, then spore sac, then outer air space, then the hypodermal and epidermal region. Next is upper column. This is the uppermost part of the capsule. It is conical. The upper column is covered by calyptra. The calyptra form a hairy structure, so polytrichum is also called as hair moss. A constriction is present between the operculum and theca, and a rim or diaphragm is present at the base of this constriction, and it further help in the falling of the operculum because here thin cells are present. The columella of theca is continuous with the operculum and it expands into a fan-shaped epiphragm as you can see in this image. There is continuation of columella and at operculum region it forms a fan-shaped epiphragm. Peristome is present in the form of thick rim. It bears a number of rigid teeth. Epigram fill the space inside the ring of peristome teeth and attached to their tips. So the epigram are attached to the tips of the peristomial teeth. Peristomial teeth arises from the rim or the diaphragm. So you will find here another special structure, that is epiphragm. Epiphragm fills the gap of the peristomial teeth and peristomial teeth arises from the rim or diaphragm. Next is spore dispersal. Cells of the epiphragm dry up during dry condition and it separates the operculum. For this, seta elongate in air and exposes the capsule to the dry air. The calyptra falls epiphragm also dry up between the peristomial pores and the central tissue of the theca region, except the spore degenerate. Thus the spore lie free in the center of the capsule at maturity. Spore comes out through pores. They are dispersed by wind. So you can see epiphragm and the peristomial teeth collectively help in the falling of the operculum region. Then is structure and germination of spores. The spores are yellow. Each spore is uninucleate and has two wall layers. The outer layer is exosporium and the inner is endosporium. Further, you will see differentiation of the spore like the higher plants. The spore germinate under favorable condition. Exosporium rupture and endosporium comes out to form protonema, as you can see in this image. Protonema develop from the spore. These birds produce new moss plant. It gives rise to mature gametophyte completing the life cycle. If we talk about the alternation of generation, Polytrichum shows heteromorphic alternation of generation. Heteromorphic means major portion is formed by the gametophytic phase and the sporophytic phase is represented by from zygote to dispersal of the spore. So students, at last you can recapitulate life cycle of the genus Polytrichum as the main plant body of the Polytrichum is differentiated into two parts, that is rhizome and apical shoot. Both male and female plant are different, giving rise to male sex organs and female sex organs, that is antheridium and archegonium. Antheridium leads to formation of motile spore while archegonium leads to formation of egg. Motile sperm then disperse and reach to the archegonium with the help of water. Apesis is formed by the disintegration of the neck canal cell and the venter canal cell. This sperm then enter and reach to the egg. It fertilizes with it and will form diploid phase of the sporophytic generation. Then the zygote divide and redivide to form the capsule or the sporogonium. Sporogonium is made up of three parts: foot, setae and capsule. Role of foot is to absorb the nutrients. Seta help in the conduction of the nutrients and also place the capsule in dry air by elongation. The capsular portion is much differentiated, and special feature in Polytrichum is double layer spaces and epigram, which fills the space to peristomial teeth. Epigram also play important role in the dispersal of the spore. As it dry up, it leads to falling of the operculum with the help of peristomial teeth. Spores then disperse into the air and they have exine or intine. Exine rupture and intine comes out and then grow into new plant by forming protonema. So that's all about the Polytrichum. I hope you understood this topic. Thank you for listening.